Matt.
Thanks, John. The last few days have seen a number of policy shifts by the president on China as a currency manipulator, the XM Bank, the order of doing healthcare and taxes. There's more, but I won't belabor the point. What should the American people make of these shifts, and are there any policy areas that are non-negotiable?
Well, I think, respectfully, I think you can look at it at what you're referring to as a shift in a lot of ways, and by that I mean I saw a couple instances with respect to NATO being one of those shifts yesterday, and if you look at what's happened, it's those entities or individuals in some cases or issues evolving towards the president's position. And NATO in particular, he talked about the need of countries to pay their fair share, to live up to their commitments of 2% of GDP. He talked about the need for NATO to focus more on terrorism. NATO has done just that. And it is something that he pointed out in the debate, the first debate in September of last year. He talked about the fact that that NATO is moving towards what he has been calling for. And I think in some cases, the issues evolve, that it's not just a clear and fast statement that this is that the entity itself is moving towards his, or the issue is evolving towards the position that he articulated, and that can't be proven more true in the case of NATO, where he laid out two very clear positions that he had an issue with NATO, and as far back as September of last year, started to recognize that that institution was moving much more towards his position. Secretary General noted that as well yesterday.
Just a quick follow-up, if I may. The XM Bank is another one. That's an institution that hasn't changed at all. So I'm wondering, on some of these other policy shifts where you haven't seen the type of change you're talking about with NATO, what should we make of those kinds of shifts? And again, are there any policy areas that are non-negotiable, that are off limits?
Well, there's always going to be. I think that there's going to be areas where I think, again, it depends on the outcome. In the case of NATO in particular, as I pointed out, it's the most illustrative. I think you look at the president's position, where he wanted to see NATO in particular evolve to, and it's moving exactly in the direction that he said it was in terms of its goals of increasing the amount of participation from other member countries, and two, is having a greater focus on terrorism, something that was reinforced by the Secretary General himself when he was here. I think when you look at these issues and you recognize the direction in which they're moving in a direction that the president stated very clearly. John.